Thanks. So basically what I'm will do today is present the Whatever AI Assistant solution. That's a solution made as part of the Microsoft Agents League contest. So that was a hackathon held in February this year. And this solution won in the Enterprise Agents category. So what it is exactly, the solution, it's a multi-agent system showcasing the integration with Microsoft Foundry Agent Service, Microsoft 365 Copilot, Microsoft 365 Agent SDK, and a custom MCP server for read and write operations. So basically, the goal of this solution is to demonstrate, actually to address a common use case in companies like, currently we have so many ways to create agents in the Microsoft 365 ecosystem, and sometimes we have a lot of agents, and for users that can become complicated to know which agent to use for what. So the goal of this solution is to basically provide one employee-facing agent and multiple sub-specialized agents per topic or per department. So in that specific solution, I took the example of an IT or an HR agent, pretty common ones. So users only see one agent, and behind the scenes, all the user question classification is forwarded correctly to the specific agent, like IT or HR. So we'll just first talk about the architecture of that solution. It's pretty simple in the concept, actually. So as I said there, so the user accessed an agent hosted in Teams or Copilot. So we have both Teams and Copilot experience there. We use the bot service to handle those channels, and the bot service uses a custom server, which is an app service in that case, hosting the application logic and the orchestration part. And also on that server, we host also an MCP server to provide actions for the actually tools for the for the agents that are hosted in Microsoft Foundry. So basically the flow is like this: the user asks a question, and the question is forwarded to the orchestration part and forwarded to the Microsoft Foundry. So in Microsoft Foundry, we have a workflow agent composed of 4 different agents. The first one is the router agent, with the goal is to basically classify the question. Is it an IT question or HR question? And if it's not any of that, we have a fallback agent just to say, okay, I can't answer that kind of questions. And for the HR and IT agents, those agents have specific tool, so with an MCP connection, and we demonstrate in that solution like read and write operations. So for the read operation, we are using the Copilot Retrieval API, as usual, I would say, allowing us to get the data from the Microsoft 365 semantic index within Copilot, actually, and read the data on behalf of the user. I will talk about that part in a minute. So that's for the read operation. So basically, users can ask questions about HR topics or IT topics, and we get the grounding data from that API to answer the question. Very basic RAG scenario. And the other tool is the submit ticket, and it's only used by the IT agent. It's just there to simulate the ticket submissions. So we took the example of a SharePoint list there, like create just simple item in a list. That could be any other external system like ServiceNow or whatever. The concept is exactly the same. Those tools are wired to an application Insight using OpenTelemetry to integrate directly in Foundry as well. And all those tools are used on behalf of the user identity. So we are using a special feature of AI Foundry, which is called the OAuth 2 identity pass-through, allowing us to log the user, get the token on behalf of the users, and use that token for downstream APIs. So I provide with that solution a complete getting started procedure, as usual, I would say. And the first thing you will have to do is set up your data and your sites. So in that case, I just created an IT site, a SharePoint site, and an HR site, which is exactly the same, and tickets list just to all the tickets created by the agent. So for the data part, that's what is needed. And for the MCP part, because we are accessing Graph API, we need to create an entry ID application. And that entry ID application will need to have a specific configuration to work with Foundry. So the first one, of course, is the correct API permission to query the Graph API. In that case, I'm using site read write all, which is probably overkill for my use case, but allowing me to read and write in Sharpen site. And also, when you configure an MCP server, so I also provide templates to create all the infrastructure. So when created, I won't go through that step, but when the infrastructure is created, you end up with a Foundry resource there, and the Foundry account and the Foundry project. And in that Foundry resource, you have 4 different agents and the workflow agent, like I mentioned, and also an MCP tool there. And in the MCP tool, so which is a built-in tool within Foundry, you have specific options. So the first one is, of course, the MCP server. So in my case, I'm running the server locally from my machine, so I'm using dev tunnels there. And the authentication mechanism, auth identity pass-through. And this is where you will need to enter the detail of your entry ID application. So the client ID, client secrets, token URL, and refresh and auth, all the OAuth 2 URLs, and also the scopes. And when you create that tool, you will get like a redirect URL there that you need to add on your specific application as a redirect URL web platform. So that's for the configuration of the MCP. And as you can see, this MCP is used by IT agent and HR agent within my workflow. So if I go on my workflow to detail a little bit how it works, like I said, it's pretty simple. So the user asks a question, the router agent will just classify the question based on specific category, human resources or information technology, and forward to the specific agent and the workflow. Like very specific, very simple use case. Now I will show you the experience within Teams and Copilot. Actually, probably within Teams first. So I hope it will work. So I will probably. Can I share? Actually, I will share the experience directly from there. So I sideloaded my application within Teams, and I created some starter prompts just to evaluate like IT or HR questions. So let's say I start with an HR question there. So the first thing that will happen is on the first time you interact with the agent, we display a disclaimer. So it's usually a common requirement in companies actually to have this kind of behavior, just to mention, okay, about data privacy, this is an AI generated content, be careful, this kind of usual stuff. And then we are using the streaming API to display the answer. So the first time you interact with the agent, you will get a prompt to authenticate. So this authentication event is sent by the workflow itself, like the Foundry workflow, that will send you like a consent link behind the scenes, and you will use that consent link to sign in the user. So it's kind of a manual process. So in my case, I just intercept that event and show an adaptive core with a sign-in button. And if I click on the sign-in button, I will be redirected to the Foundry service. Actually, it's a URL you don't control, actually, saying you are about to authenticate for the service. Do you want to allow access? And it will log under my own identity. So I click yes, and you can see it says, okay, now you can close the dialog. That's the downside of this approach, is you don't control the authentication flow, so you can't intercept the login success operation. So it means in your agent you have to say, okay, continue, I'm logged in. And let's say if it does not work and user do something else, we implemented the agent behavior as a dialog, so we can just iterate to the dialog until the user is logged in. Then we call the MCP server. So I will probably switch to another window there just to show you what's going on the side, on the code side, actually. Okay, can you see the code there? Visual to the code? I guess yes. Okay, well, assume you can all see the screen there. Okay. So I'm hitting the MCP there, and what I want to show you is the O2 identity pass-through of Foundry. Basically, what it does, it will send back the token as is to your MCP server. So it means the token we get there, like this token, is directly a graph token that you can use for your downstream API. So we do a couple of validation. Of course, you can't validate a graph token directly, but you can validate some basic information, like is the tenant ID correct, audience correct, is the graph token, this kind of stuff, so basic security features. And what we do next, actually, is we call the MCP server. We'll just go on that MCP server there. So we have multiple tools registered, as I mentioned, like Copilot Retrieval is one of them. And we also leverage the open telemetry. So also when using Foundry, you have a way to integrate within the traces within Foundry. So in that case, you can get the open telemetry headers, like from the HTTP headers, like the trace parent header, and you can use that to wire your applications to the existing trace within Foundry. So that's why you can see a tracer there to an active span created with your custom data. And in my case, I just create the data, retrieve the data, and send back to the agent. So now, if I go back to my experience there, sorry for the context switching. Sometimes it's not that easy. Okay, here we go. So because I took too much time, now I need to ask a question again. So if I'm already logged, I won't be prompted again, normally. So basically, the workflow is executed behind the scenes, and okay, in that case, I will probably get another question. This time in IT, just to show you how it works behind the scenes.
And Frank, while we're waiting for it to come back, just we have a couple minutes left before we'll have to wrap up, and we can always have you back for a part 2 or 3 to this so cool stuff.
Yeah, I could talk about that like for hours. So yeah, but yeah, I guess looking at the architecture, you understand the concept for the rack system and correct answer. But we also have another feature actually, and we'll just use a feature I implemented, which is the reset conversation that can help in that situation actually. And we have another option is to create like tickets. I have an issue with my laptop, raise a ticket. So normally it will be interpreted as a write action and provide me a form there.
This is really cool stuff, by the way.
Yeah, again, it's just combining all of the technology together, right?
Yeah, as you can see, I'm prompted with an adaptive card, and I can create like something here. I can create my own form and submit my information. And when submitting, I will just send back the data to the agent and create the ticket directly in the Sharpot list. Write operation, again, on behalf of the current user. So you can see my ticket has been created. So it could have been like a service now. It's exactly the same concept, actually. You can plug any API you want on that part. So I could explain how we generate that adaptive code, but we won't have time, unfortunately. So maybe another time I will do a demo about that.
Yeah, definitely have you back.
We have all the, actually, I created all the procedure to get started with that. You have also the repository there, so you can clone the solution and deploy the template in your own Azure environment. It should work like as is without any kind of modification. So yeah, and anyway, if you have any questions, just reach me on LinkedIn, on social media. Yeah, I can answer as well. So.